Question 2 today. We're going to focus on the offense for a moment, and that means we're going to talk to Ari, because Ari loves playmakers. Do you love playmakers?
I love playmakers. I'm obsessed with playmakers.
So if you were Tom Herman, the offensive coordinator for Ohio State, who would you be featuring in this offense right now? We've seen them distribute the ball. You wrote about that Saturday after Ohio State beat Kent State. They got the ball to everybody. But if you were trying to prioritize going into a game plan, and obviously it adjusts each week depending on the defense, who are the guys on this offense that you would really want to see say, we got to get the ball to these guys?
I'm going to answer this question, but don't let me forget we have 2 questions from people who are watching live that we have to get to.
Right,
and they're good questions, but
excited.
I like it to be about me, so I'm going to answer the question first. Only half kidding. It's so tough because all we've heard about is Dontre Wilson, and we had a video Monday outside of Ty's Asian Bistro where we talked about, what Ohio State needed to improve on the most, and my thing was getting Dontre Wilson involved in the offense the way that they said he was supposed to be for the last, 10 months since last year. And I think I would feature Dontre Wilson, but I'm starting to doubt whether or not he's capable of doing it, because by now I feel like we would have seen it, especially against Kent State, where everybody but him scored, it seems like. Mm-hmm. So, the other one that I would say potentially is Ezekiel Elliott, but that might be a little bit tougher because Ohio State's still trying to gel on the offensive line, and they don't have the type of, ability to get 6.8 yards a pop like they did last year. So for Ohio State, and when it talks about, or when it needs to improve with the quarterback position, I think that means distributing the ball, and that means getting Dontre Wilson the ball on jet sweeps or hitting him on crossing routes or getting him the ball where there's 4 yards before a defender can hit him. And if they can do that and he can really make plays the way we thought they would, I think this offense would look a lot different. But, I'm starting to doubt personally whether or not he has it yet. Is he too small? Does he need to? Does he play as fast? It seems to me that Curtis Samuel plays even faster than him, and he's a freshman. So whether or not he's capable of doing it, I think, is the real question.
I think it's still a small sample size on Dontre Wilson. Yeah. I'm going to be very curious after Cincinnati, after Maryland, by the midpoint of the season, where we are in this discussion. I would really want to get the ball to the tight ends at this point. We talk a lot about the ability of these tight ends. Urban Meyer has said he likes his 2 tight ends in Jeff Hireman and Nick Vannett as the best tight end combo in America. We know Jeff Hireman's been hurt. He did not play against Kent State. They wanted to give him basically 2 weeks to rest before the Cincinnati game. But we saw Ohio State get the ball to Nick Vannett early in that game. I've always been curious about them getting those tight ends together on the field, where you can line up one in the slot, one in an H-back, or however you want to do it, create some mismatches. I really like those guys still athletically with mismatches in the intermediate passing game. I think that is an area where they still can grow, and I would really, Nick Vannett flashed that. I think that's something that still can be expanded upon. What do you think, Bill?
My guy is Curtis Samuel, and it's because this season I've been kind of looking for that guy who can get the ball in space and make somebody miss. And Dontre Wilson probably has that ability too. We haven't saw it a bit in a punt game, but not yet offensively. Curtis Samuel, I think, showed that against Kent State. A couple swing passes, he was dancing around a little bit. A couple of those wide runs, he was dancing around, beating guys. Looked kind of like Bill Landis circa 2002 CYO football star.
I don't even know what to say about that.
That was good. But Curtis Samuel is the guy I think you want to get the ball in his hands, and now it's a tough situation because, Ari, you mentioned Ezekiel Elliott, They have 2 running backs back there, and they kind of have to decide how they want to use them. And right now, Ohio State hasn't shown the ability to run the ball between the tackles and get that 6.8 yards a pop like you were talking about, Ari. So if you can't get that, if you're not able to run the ball up the middle, you might as well give it to Curtis Samuel on the outside and see what he can do with it.
Okay, so now we're going to go to questions of those who are loyal readers who are watching live. First, and this is something that we were actually trying to figure out a way before the show started to figure out, from Gladys on the Dice 8.
Great name.
Great name. Do the Buckeyes have a realistic shot to win a national championship or to be in the playoff this year? And Gladys, loving the name, don't get cute with the dice. What do you think, Doug?
I would say no. Not realistic. I think there's like a sort of a fantasy world explosion in the rest of college football that could maybe create a scenario where a 1-loss Ohio State team, if they ran the table, was being compared with a bunch of 2-loss teams, but I don't think it's happening.
No, there's just so much that needs to happen for Ohio State to even be considered in the college football playoff that, the odds are probably astronomical.
Yeah, East Carolina kind of That's it. Next question, Hokie Wolf. He's always commenting on us. I know he likes us.
Wolf.
We love you, Hokie Wolf. What is the potential of the offensive line this year? Are they an average talent, or is it something that can grow into something bigger and better the way it was last year, Doug? What do you think?
This offensive line, I think, is an interesting spot. There was a time a couple years ago where people thought they sort of had a couple misses in some of their recruiting on the offensive line, and a little bit of that, I think, is coming to fruition with some of the guys who would be juniors and seniors on this team who aren't here, who they didn't get. I think Taylor Decker is a good offensive lineman. I think Pat Elflein and Billy Price at the guard spots have a lot of potential. For a guy like Darryl Baldwin and Jacoby Bourne, there's guys who have paid their dues and been around. I don't think has the potential to be the kind of line when you see Jack Newhart and Corey Linsley starting in the NFL as rookies. And I've said that Corey Linsley had the greatest turnaround in my time at Ohio State. When Corey Linsley was younger, I never would have thought he would be the kind of player he was with the Buckeyes, or a guy who could start as a rookie. And I've told him that. That's a miraculous thing. Maybe we see that kind of thing, but I don't think it's going to be. They'll get better.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get close to what we saw with the line last year, though. Not this year.
Okay, one more question. What are Ohio State's offensive coaches doing to combat opposing defenses that are trying to intimidate what Virginia Tech did defensively? Are they trying to develop the short passing game? Now, I'll probably keep this one because I wrote about this on Saturday. I think there's two parts to this question. One, Kent State tried to imitate it, but they don't have the athletes to reproduce what Virginia Tech did, so it's kind of hard to evaluate how they were able to respond because, frankly put, Ohio State's just better than Kent State across the board. But the thing that Ohio State's going to have to do is get the ball out more, get it to different guys, try to hit short slants the way they did. I mean, they exposed them on one play. Virginia Tech, Michael Thomas hit a slant, broke a tackle, took it to the house. But it really, I think it's most about the development of the wide receivers. Are these guys going to ever be able to beat one-on-one guys when they stack the box if Ohio State can't get their running game going? Is there a receiver on this team that can take a one-on-one coverage situation, double move, go up the field, and score a touchdown? Because I think big plays are the way to stop a defense like that. Ohio State wasn't able to do it, and I think we're still trying to figure out if J.T. Barrett can get on the same page with his receivers and if those receivers can in turn make those plays.
I don't know if that's a good question, but I don't know how much of an issue that's going to be moving forward. If you look at the opponents they're going to have, Michigan State is probably the only team that can come close to throwing that defense at them and then actually having the players to pull it off. Other teams can try it, and it's a tough, and Urban Meyer said it. He said that's a tough thing to put in a week. Virginia Tech had been working on that clearly for a couple weeks, probably in August started working on that.
I guess a better question, Doug, would be Michigan State certainly took note of what happened. They are probably going to have a package to imitate it. Do you think Ohio State, in the next few weeks or a month before they go in there in November, will be able to combat it if Michigan State tries to come at them the same way?
I think it's going to be tough. I don't think their best chance to combat that is with the deep ball. I think it is with getting the ball in space and quick little things with Jalen Marshall and Dontre Wilson and Curtis Samuel. That initial game plan against Virginia Tech where J.T. Barrett ran the ball a lot and they threw deep a lot, those are not the two answers I think that they want to come up with as their main answers to those questions.